Okay,
No.
so we look to be live,
Okay.
and
There's always like a 10-second delay before it shows up
yeah,
on YouTube. So if we're live, hello everybody, welcome. I'm gonna wait until I see myself.
here we go. Oh, and
Hey, we're here. Awesome. Well, hello everybody. We are here with Yeri today, who you guys may know from the Voron Design team. Also, sort of I think what lead of Boop, also creator of the salad fork. So some pretty cool things, especially if you're in the printers for hands community. Um, really cool things. And Yeri, I got to meet you at Remurf, I think it was, and it was really awesome to have the opportunity to meet you there. And I really appreciate you willing to take the time. And I will say sometimes these things have run pretty long, so taking the time to chat with us. It's an honor. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. It's great.
We've got we're live, and I just want to let people know, if you guys have questions as we go on, this is if you guys haven't seen these before, this is kind of interview style. It is pretty laid back and relaxed. If you guys have questions that you want us to ask, just shoot them off in the YouTube chat, and we'll be monitoring that. Um, we'll be asking questions just as they come up. It's usually a fairly natural, free-flowing conversation. Hopefully, we can keep it that way. But why don't we just start dive into introductions? I'm not sure, there's probably some people on the stream that don't know all of the faces on here. So I will let Yeri, why don't you start? You're the guest of honor.
Okay. Well, I'm Yeri, member of the Voron Design team, the huge Florida man that stumbles around conventions. And yeah, like I said, Salad Fork did the initial work on Boop, and then Mastermind has taken that over and just done a fantastic job with that. Been around the Warren community for a few years now, and yeah, I guess we'll get into more of the details as we go through.
Perfect. Sivi, I'm gonna go on the YouTube order here.
Hey, excuse me. Hey, I'm Sivi. I am the relationship manager officially at West 3D. Kind of have my hand in kind of everything that goes on here. So I do a lot and a little bit of everything pretty much that we do. So yeah, I'm back from vacation. It's been a while since I've seen a lot of y'all on the interwebs. Good to be back.
Aaron, the little guy with the giant bed.
Hi, my name is Aaron. I'm officially the additive manufacturing product specialist at West 3D. I like Civi, I pretty much have a hand in everything except packing orders and such. And if you're in the Discord, I go by Machinza there, and I have the T800 profile picture.
And this is the guy that never sleeps. So he will answer you first because he's on the East Coast, and he'll also be able to answer you last because he doesn't sleep. And Alan, you're the next one on there.
yeah, I'm Alan Rowand. I am the media manager, so I'm responsible for doing stuff like putting these things out on the internet, as well as doing a lot of our video recordings. And yeah, if you order anything that ships quickly, so priority mail or overnight, you probably are going to get a packing slip signed by me because I'm kind of first in the door.
Awesome. And I'm Daniel. I guess I'm the one that started West 3D. If you get a packing slip that you can't read, it's one that I did. And I honestly I don't do a bunch now, but while Civi's been gone, there's a good chance. And I was telling all these guys, but I'm excited because I'm a bachelor for 3 weeks. My wife and kids are gone on vacation, so you may get more signatures from me. If you place an order with us. But it's the one you can't read. So yeah, again, so I guess we can just kick it off. I have a whole bunch of questions, but I feel like I usually dominate some of these questions. I like to talk and I just keep talking. So I'm gonna see if we can have someone else open up some questions for Yeri.
This is kind of a generic question, but what inspired you to make the salad fork?
Okay, that's actually a great one. Um, it's pretty much no secret on the Discord that I really love the Trident platform. Um, and yeah, I started, with the 1.8 was when I got into that platform, and I did some mods for it, the Triple Z mod and some other stuff, knowing that the rumor mill was alive and kicking that 1.9 was coming and 1.9 was going to have 3-point leveling. I didn't want to wait, but I knew the official one would be better. So I just did a quick and dirty Triple Z mod for it. Was happy. 1.9, aka Trident, comes out. Put that together. Absolutely loved everything about it, except preheating it for an hour. That's the part I didn't love because my kind of background at that point had really been just a lot of mod development, so iterating on small parts. And I'd go into Fusion and do some stuff and then go print it and all right, no, it's not hot enough, get the chamber heat up. And this is before bed fans and backers and kinematic mounts and all the good stuff we have nowadays. So it got tiring after a while. And my V0, I had issues when I was putting that together. That was my first Voron. Mistakes were made, copious mistakes. And so it never quite printed as good as it could have. So when Trident came out, and I think it was probably Doc on stream that kind of offhand made a comment about somebody going to shrink it down and call it the salad fork. I was like, yes, I have to do that. Because it was everything I love about the platform in a bite-sized thing that for my use case, it was one of those, I designed the printer I wanted, right? I want something small, has all the features, but I can use it to iterate quickly. And fortunately, there was a lot of other people that thought it was kind of the printer they'd like too, and kind of kicked off.
That's awesome. So then did Doc come up with the name Salad Fork? Because that was one of my questions.
I think Doc was the first one to coin that, and then somehow it was sticking in the back of my head. And over in the Doom Cube chat, I was in G chat asking for like some ideas for names. A couple came out, and then I think it may have been Mad Cat brought up Salad Fork again, and it was like, yeah, that's it. It has to be that.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, now you have your own, there's its own logo, which is pretty awesome. I just looked and there's even shirts, so I'm buying like 10 of them. In fact, I think for some of our trivia, we should be giving away some shirts maybe. It's cool. It's really like there's a whole like energy and community behind it now, I feel like.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a very memeable printer.
Yeah.
Some of the mods have come out have all been some form of play. I think I was telling Zivy about one of my favorite mods that Cat Monkey FPV did. It's a spool mount goes on top of it. It's called the salad spinner. So
no, that's awesome.
I think I'm about to print out dishwasher, which is like a perch bucket thing for Trident or a salad fork, which I thought was adorable too. They're all well named. Everything's good.
That's awesome. So, now everybody that's watching at least has heard, if they didn't know already, that Salad Fork is a scaled down or mini Trident, which I think is also a very appropriate name for it. Is it really just that? I'm sure there's a lot that you have to do. It's not, you can't just say, hey, we're scaling it down. I'm sure there's a lot of work that goes on to actually make things work. Can you give us a little bit of an idea? I remember talking to you and there was just bomb changes all over the place. I'm sure there's been so many things that just keep having to change. The development's a lot more than shrinking it down.
absolutely. Yeah, while it looks pretty much identical to a Trident. The fact that we're on a 1515 extrusion instead of a 2020 changes a lot. So all the parts have to be redesigned. And they were pretty much either taken kind of side by side. I looked at the Trident part and just tried to recreate it as authentically as I could. Some of ones were actually straight from the Trident and then kind of hacked up because they were close. So maybe just, like the front bed mounts are a great example. Those are pretty much the exact Trident mounts. I just chopped them down a little bit. It was easy enough to do rather than redesign the whole part from scratch. But the biggest challenge with any 1515 based printer is the lack of roll-in nuts. So you got to preload everything, and figuring out the assembly order was significantly difficult. Things that you can get away with when building a Trident, you can't here. So you kind of have to do things a little differently. And there's some areas that are just, in my opinion, still very difficult to build on the solid fork, and it's things I'm hoping we can address in the future 1.1 release. It's just some things like the front tensioners. They're a pain to put on there because you have to hold it together with the screw and then try and get the stuff in there and line up the nuts and bolts. It can be a challenge. But yeah, I think the biggest challenge was that, is also figuring out how to do it differently. Like Trident's got to take cable chains as the default, and that's not going to work on a tiny printer. So, hey, let's do umbilical. That's the right way. But then where are you running the wires? How are they going to run? Also wanted to, this was one of the very early things that we were iterating on in the during the first stages of development. And had a few people all kind of doing some tests and seeing what worked, was how tall do we make it? One of the known issues with the Trident, because of the limitation that was reusing the frame from 1.8, is your Bowden tube hits the top of your top plexiglass. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, can we do anything about that? How tall do we need to make it so we can minimize that as much as possible, but not make it so tall that it's unstable? So it's little things like that kind of went into that weren't as much apparent when I started. It was like, I didn't think I was going to run into those questions, but here we are. And then, how do you solve for them?
Cool. I was gonna say, we actually did have a question, and I would like to get your answer if you have any feedback, and then I have more questions on sort of how that process works, because I do think the manual piece, and instructions is something that we can probably dive into. So West 3D is actually, I don't know if you know, but Civi's got the alpha kit in that background, so that's going to be our iteration of the salad fork. And we'll do a configuration style, kind of like we do for our other kits. You can pick and choose some parts. But we did have a question in chat, and we do love Fabrico. So I do want to know if you've had any chance to look at the Fabrico kit, and if that's a kit that you'd recommend.
I have not had any hands-on experience with the Fabrico kit. I was in communication with him while he was putting the kit together, and giving him some feedback on parts and components and stuff like that. And I do have, he did provide me, while he was spinning his kit up, with the electronics that he was planning on putting in there. So I redid mine just to do a test to make sure that would work. Because that was a deviation from the BOM at the time, because it's with the M8P board, and those had just come out. And with the CAN toolhead, and so when I was designing it, it was spider or octopus and just traditional setup. And then it was just right as those boards were hitting, and he was building a kit, and I'm like, okay, let's see if I can make this work. And it did, and so we kind of went forward from there.
Super cool. So on the manual piece, because that's something that I've always been really interested in, because I mean, the manuals, I mean, even if there are areas that, you feel are challenging, or on any of the builds, I feel like have actually been pretty impressive, and I think there's probably a ton of work that goes behind them. So what happens? So if you're building the printer, and is it just you go to this part, and at the end you're like, oh dang, I should have done it, I should have done it a different way, or I should have done this thing first. And then do you either have to take it apart to like validate that, or are you using other people that are collaborating with you to say, hey, when you build it, try doing it this way? I'm just wondering how that manual kind of comes to be like that.
Yeah, for this one, I had done the manual pretty much on my own. There was, definitely given some feedback once I was releasing the first revisions of it. But what it ended up doing was I bought a partial enough extra extrusions to build a partial frame, and had some spare parts, and it was basically just building parts on the side as I went through. And where that wasn't enough, I would disassemble the one and only solid fork in existence at the time to figure out what the build assembly order should have been and stuff like that.
Wow.
But yeah, to your point, the documentation took as long as the entire rest of the printer design did.
Wow.
And I know that the solid fork manual is not even at the same level as some of the mainline Voron manuals and stuff like that. Those are just works of art. The amount of effort that's gone into those. So it is truly I think, in my opinion, the hardest part of the whole thing is documenting it.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. It's one of those things. I mean, you could have done it. You could have built a printer that you thought was what you wanted, if you want to scale down a Trident, but putting together the manual and spending all that time is kind of the dedication, I feel like, to allow others that want to do the same thing, but don't have, either the skill set or the time to go at it from scratch, the ability to do that. So thank you. Because I mean, it's great. I think a lot of people, wouldn't do that. You're not getting paid, to do any of this. It's just a wonderful thing you're doing. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's appreciated.
Team, I'm going to let you go ahead and ask some questions.
I'm curious to know about what you can tell us about the new revision coming up, and maybe Salad Fork 180. And I get some of it maybe top secret, but whatever you want to sneak peek.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. So yeah, there are some things I don't want to talk about yet, and that's just because I'm not sure if they're going to work. So I don't want to set expectations that something may happen and then like, nah, this won't work. And then, why doesn't Yeri know what he's doing? So, but for the 1.1 release, which I am working on in the background, it's basically a really, really big quality of life release. All kind of little things that were discovered in the original Solid Fork. Just a lot of it's minor tweaks, some buildability issues, some new parts. So what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of going through and redesigning all the parts because my CAD skills have grown significantly during and after doing Solid Fork. So now I look back at those first parts I did, I'm like, oh, that's garbage. I throw that out. We can do it better, much cleaner. So I've really been going through doing that. We're going to have the big reason why it's a full 1.1 release is 180 is coming. Everyone's been wanting the 180 size. It will happen. It will be an officially supported size. My goal is to, wishful thinking, caveats apply, to have 3 separate CAD files, one for each of the supported sizes, 120, 160, 180, because a lot of people will be building one size and say, well, I'm looking for a CAD in this size, even though it's pretty much the same, but just to make life easier for everyone. So I'm hoping that won't be too big of a hassle. To support this, we're going to have an entirely new set of skirts that are going to be something I can size easily to the different ones, which also means I've changed the feet. Changing right now, it's my current thing I'm working on at night, the fan holders. I've got some ideas for that. Hoping to change the filament feed instead of coming in the middle, and where the umbilical, my plan, hypothetically, no guarantees on this one, but to run them up the right side instead of up the middle. That would make it a little easier to do filament mounts, spool mounts for on the bottom, kind of like what V0 does. Power inlets moving to the other side, just because with the newer boards that everyone's using, they're kind of put together the opposite direction from the ones that I had originally. So it makes more sense to put the AC on the other side. Refreshing the gantry. So Solid Fork and Micron share the gantry, just like Trident and V2 share. So there have been a lot of updates on the Micron side. So we're going to pull those in. Just little minor things that are off by a fraction of a millimeter here or there. So kind of stuff like that. And new panel clips. I'm not a big fan of the clips that I did on the first release. Go ahead.
Are they magnetic?
No, they should be, given my affiliation with magnets. I do want to do a mod for that at some point, but one of the things I'm experimenting with that's on my list is to see if I can do something cool with a magnetic door latch, at least. Something that at least I hadn't seen before. And then there's some stuff on of course, there'll be a new manual. I want to try and reuse and make it as close to like the V0 quality of that new manual that just came out as I can. I'm just blown away by how good that one came out.
That's a wonderful manual, yeah.
Yeah, so they set the bar really high, so I want to see how close we can get on that. Yeah, and then like I said, just the new panel clips and whatever else tends to come to mind. Yeah.
Does it fit with the current extrusions?
It will fit with the current extrusions. The frame doesn't change, except if you're getting 180, you will need, appropriately sized extrusions for that. But the frame doesn't change.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
There is one small change though. The feet will require your Z extrusions to be tapped. Now, currently the BOM doesn't call out for tapping the Z extrusions.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the frame providers are tapping them anyway. So in the 1.0 BOM, they're not tapped. In the 1.1 BOM, they will be tapped.
I'm going to check if ours are going to be tapped. They're not? Oh. So, I mean, it sounds like, there's potentially an upgrade path. It seems like it's a little involved if you wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I think 180 is a good size. Civi, the screen just fell. It's not ready.
I have to design a screen mount. Let's just put it that way.
The front fell off.
No, okay, anyway, hey, that's awesome. We did get some other questions just as we were talking. So first, someone just wants to know if you can spill any beans, but if there's a planned V2 or Trident release that you're aware of that's coming.
If I knew anything, I wouldn't be able to say anything.
That's fair. So another question was just, if any of the, if there was any help that you got, if, watching any sort of, streamers like Steve or Nero building a Salad Fork live, if that helped you as you're working on the manual and things like that.
Absolutely. Being able to watch someone who knows how to build printers, but has never built this, and seeing where they were struggling or confused. I made so many revisions to the manual live as I was watching Steve stream. And he was saying, hey, we're doing this. And I'm frantically just live editing the manual to clarify it. And so, yeah, that was tremendously valuable.
And Steve also says that was a good answer.
And there was a question that he had too, if the Trident 180 is going to match the Micron 180 footprint.
Probably not, because the Solid Fork has a lot more over travel than the Micron does. So or footprints are not the same. And I think the bed mounting holes are different. I'm not completely familiar with Micron. I haven't built one
Yeah.
yet. It's on my to-do list. But the Trident, I'm saying Trident, the solid fork is definitely deeper in the y-axis than Micron is.
Yeah. Now, someone also asked if you've ever thought about making the Z taller than the stock. So
You could. The reason that Z is currently the way is just because I can reuse the V0 integrated lead screw motors.
Yeah, and that helps. You don't have to. Those are easily available.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was one of the goals when I was building this, and that's why some of the decisions were made. They were like, it started as a 150, because I could go and buy a 150 bed already. When that's really kind of what I wanted. Then Clee figured out that no, we could do a 160, and there were people that were willing to make 160 beds, and that's why we have 160 solid forks now.
Yeah. I'm gonna let, if any of you guys have other questions, I still have a list and I can keep going forever. But
I have one quick question. So I've been in the DoomCube server for a long time now, and I know that there is another Trident PFA design called the Crucible. I was wondering if you had any involvement or experience with that machine and how it compares to the solid fork.
I know it exists. But that was something that was completely independently done. And I didn't hear about it till it popped up one day. I'm like, oh, cool. Someone else did one of these too. But beyond that, I really don't know anything about it.
Well,
that's the kind of thing about the DoomCube server. There are so many projects and so many people doing cool stuff out there. It's impossible to keep up with it all.
yeah, I get lost.
yeah. Separate from the printers, I want to find out. So, what is it that you do when you're not designing and building printers?
As little as possible. Yeah, mostly it's at this point it's hang out on Discord and just try and help people out. So generally my evenings now are all surrounding either building them or talking about them. You know, on the weekends, it's usually, you know, riding time when it's not raining. This is Florida, so we get daily monsoons or daily heat waves, take your pick. But yeah, other than that, it's right now my life is printers.
Nice. So riding like motorcycles?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we've got a few of those, few close friends. We go out a bit, you know, it's just Florida, it's year-round riding weather. So we tend to do that, you know, Saturday and Sunday in the morning, then go do our own thing the rest of the day, which for me comes back and fire up CAD. And
that's awesome. Would you say that designing something like the salad fork and keeping it maintained and all that stuff is basically, you know, like a full-time job?
It definitely feels like that sometimes. Excuse me. After, oh, 1 second.
You're good.
Oh man. Yeah, after it released, and everything else, just like earlier this year, I was just pretty much suffering from burnout, right? I knew here's all the stuff I wanted to do for the next release, and that to-do list is getting bigger and bigger. And the task is getting, I'm like, oh, do I really want to go through all that again? So that's why kind of development went quiet on it for a few months, found a couple of the little small things to tinker around with. And then it was just, you know, past month or so that it's like, okay, got the itch again, and let's start cranking on it.
As more people start building the printers, are you starting to also get more collaborators that are able to help in some of these things?
I think so. There were definitely some really good collaborators that helped out in the initial design. That, you know, like a CAD Monkey, for example, contributed the entire skirts for the 1.0 release. Fantastic job, you know, really appreciative of that, because skirts are not fun to design. So that was just like a huge checkbox done. So it was great. And then I think now with the extra people, especially within the Voron community itself that have built these, when it comes time to doing the beta testing and the manual, I'm confident there will be help available.
Awesome. Why don't we take a little bit of a stop and change gears? And I know that we asked if you had any trivia questions, and I did mention that I realize that now there's Salad Fork shirts, and I want to make sure that we are handing out shirts to people. Let's do a couple trivia questions, and I think these will just be for some Salad Fork shirts. And so the way it works is Yeri's going to ask a trivia question. We'll monitor the chat. Whoever gets it, whoever that we see gets it first. And again, there's a little bit of a delay. It's still kind of awkward on YouTube Live, but we'll let you know, and then you can send us an email and we'll send you a shirt. I just need to know your size and where to send it. And I don't know, Alan, do you have the answer so you can monitor?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'll let you. Yeri, do you want to go ahead and ask one?
Sure. Let me pull it up because I sent them to Alan. Okay. My very first Voron printer was a V0. I'm giving a little bit of hints here. What color was the frame?
And again, there's a little bit of a delay, so we haven't seen anything yet. Can I ask, was it just one color? The frame, right?
Yes, the frame was one color. Yep.
I've seen some of the stuff that like DL PDF does.
Mad Shammy's got it.
Oh, look at that.
Right off the
first
bat.
guess.
Wow.
So it's purple?
Yeah, it was a purple LDO frame.
Oh, awesome. Oh, it's such a nice color. I have to talk to Jason and get it back.
Yeah, it came out, and especially since what I've seen on the newer LBO frames, how nice they look. I couldn't imagine how good a revised purple would be.
Yeah, I've asked, and it's just us buying enough. But we can bring it back. I also want the green back. I thought the green looks good. The orange is really nice looking. The gold I'm a little like on, but I mean it still was it was a color. It was a different color I could see people liking. Sorry if anybody has a gold frame. It's a taste preference thing. Okay, so Shammy, just send us an email or hit one of us up on Discord, but email's easier. Just info@west3d, and I'll make sure you get an awesome Salad Fork shirt. How many trivia questions do we have?
I had 2.
Okay, well, we'll save the other one. Let's save the other one towards the end. Does anybody on the West 3D team have a trivia question? I feel like we should do like 2 or 3 of these. Aaron, I feel like yours should be, what's the size of my bed? You can ask 2. You already wrote one down, but I swear that bed looks huge.
All right, I will do one now, one later. So based on what you see here, actually, I was giving people scale there. What size is the bed behind me?
And you have Aaron for scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how do we know what scale he is? Do you have a banana that you could hold?
Ooh. A what?
A banana.
Here's a 20 mil Voron cube. So that's your.
See, that looks so. I'm telling you, something's going on with your camera because your hands look humongous for that cube too.
Yeah. California King. Wow.
See, nobody's got it. Nobody's got it. No, nobody's got it. I tell you, I'm making a little bit of fun because I feel like it's the camera orientation.
I'm gonna give
throwing it off.
one. KB3D got it.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, I'll send you a salad fork shirt. That's awesome.
I'm impressed.
Sorry, yeah, it is a twin XL, but I'm telling you, it looks like you put two queen beds together there.
It's nuts. Yeah.
It almost looks big enough for me. Almost.
Oh, all right. Let's do one more. Anybody?
Do you have some, Civi?
Yeah. How many all-nighters did I pull from Earth? Probably could come up with.
That's a good one.
Thanks, Aaron.
You've got a lot of
Okay,
threes.
Zeta
Two.
Tango got it. Zeta Tango? The first person that got it. Wow,
Oh, sweet.
Thunder Key's 7. No,
Did you
I'd
really
be
do
dead.
3 all-nighters?
I did, like right before, twice, and then I think once, or did I do twice while we were at Murph? I don't even remember.
It was the
Just-
night before Murph. We were working on the machines. I was up until like 5, and then I said,
Right.
I need
Well, yeah, at
Tapped
least
out.
one day before that, she was like, "Yeah, I didn't go to bed. I
Yes.
laid down for a little while, and
There's
then
that one.
And
I
there
think,
was one
yeah.
more.
Yeah, there was it. That one either happened. I can't remember if it happened at Murph or it happened.
Well, the problem is when you don't sleep, you kind of
I don't remember.
yeah. That was not a West 3D sanctioned all-nighter session.
No. By the way, yes.
I did
Tim
advise
does not
multiple times
encourage
to go to
this
bed.
behavior.
Can confirm.
And see, I went to bed like at
Well, I
11. I
still
was like,
can.
"Sorry, guys."
Yeah, you did. The smart person in the room. It's fine though. We had fun. That
All
one
right,
time.
all right, Zeta Tango. Again, shoot an email at info@west3d. We'll do a salad fork shirt. And then we'll do another trivia, I think, towards the end, or sort of, in a little while. And that we'll do some West 3D gift cards. Although we've got some salad fork swag now. We've got PFA stickers, but we also just got those the backers with a little logo on them and all of the fun things. Trying to get ready for our kit. So maybe we'll throw in some swag too. Now that we just changed gears, there was a question other than a salad fork. What kit or project printers have you built recently, or have you?
I have a mostly assembled ERCF, so the parts are done. I went to configure the easy board and it exploded. So just, I don't know, bad board, something happened, who knows. So I got that replaced and I just hadn't had a chance to take it from that point. It's sitting there, judging me for not finishing it, because it would really be helpful. I really want to start doing some multicolor stuff, and I need to finish that. But I'm on a roll with Solid Fork, so I'm definitely in a CAD mood. So I want to get that one done.
You're dedicated.
Dedicated, yeah. I don't want to distract myself.
So on that topic, somebody was asking, are you using Fusion 360 for all of it?
Yes. I have played around with a couple different CAD programs. So I do all my CAD on a Mac. So you're a little more limited in choices there. And there is one called Shaper 3D that runs a Mac, runs really well. But it only direct modeling, and I'm definitely in the parametric camp. So it's like I really want that to work, and I actually did design some of the solid fork parts in that. The DIN rails and clips and stuff like that. I designed those on my iPad with the Apple Pencil.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
And that in bed, that was like, this is great. It just needs parametric modeling. And then I got an email from them earlier this week that, hey, we're bringing parametric modeling out this summer. So
Oh,
that was
nice.
like me instantly doing a happy dance.
That's
So
awesome.
when that comes out, I am definitely going to be very heavily checking that out.
Yeah, I mean, what I like about Shaper 3D, if you guys haven't tried it, it's actually a pretty cool CAD app that you can use on the iPad. I think they have a OS X version as well.
Yeah, they do.
But the nice thing is you use the Apple Pencil for most of it, and for some things it becomes stupid easy. It's also much there's a lot less options than you get with Fusion, which also does make it, I think, simpler, or at least it seemed like it was simpler. The challenge for me was when my trial or whatever was up, or I think you can only load like a few models. Once you have more models you want to load up, it becomes Fusion 360 priced almost, I think. Um, that was my only holdback, but it's a sweet program. That's cool. So you kind of go back and forth if you depending on if you're in bed or not.
Yeah, well, I actually haven't. Yeah, just because the free edition was so limited, so I did subscribe for a month or two just to give it a good trial. But the lack of parametric modeling just killed me. It's just not my workflow that I'm accustomed to. So that one's like, okay, well, when they ever come out, and I did put that in, and I emailed their support representative or whoever that was in contact with me and said, hey, this is the killer feature for me. It's missing. When you guys do it, I'm definitely going to come back and check out the product again.
So now you have to.
Now I have to. Yep, absolutely.
Someone was asking what you would like to see most on the software side to make printers and the user experience better. If there's anything you can think of.
Oh, you hit my personal favorite thing.
Okay.
My kind of passion, pet passion. So what I see, and this is kind of like inspired the way I tried to do the solid fork configuration initially, and didn't work out as well as I had hoped. But what I kind of started, my history with Voron was, I built the V0, learned a lot about it, built the 1.8, learned a lot, and enjoyed a lot of time just hanging out in the channels helping people. And I've been able to watch over these past couple of years as Voron grows and the community grows and everything else, the popularity of the printers has exploded. And we're seeing more and more people who have non-technical backgrounds or new to 3D printing and things that are so simple for someone with experience that you don't even think about it. Someone else can come in and they don't even know that they're supposed to do this or not supposed to do this. So it's that, it's not, these aren't like pull them out of the box and start printing, right? We all know that. And it's just, my thing is, how do we take what we have and can we make it any easier, right? To build, to operate and everything else. And there's definitely limits. We're limited by what the software can do. You can't hold someone completely by the hand, remotely and everything else, right? The manuals do a fantastic job. You can see the improvement on the manual side over the various Voron releases. So there's absolutely stuff I'd love to do. And this is the thing that I wanted, that I can't say the details of on the software because I want to make sure I can do it. But I've got some ideas that will hopefully make it a little easier to do some of the configuration and some of the other common type questions that I see asked in some of the channel. So fingers crossed, I'll have a fun little software project ahead of me once I finish all the CAD work.
So it's something that's going to make the configuration easier. So
That's my hope.
Like a generator of some sort, or
yeah,
okay.
Since we have a known BOM and sizes and everything else,
Wow.
that's what I'm hoping we can make work.
Yeah. There's kind of, I mean, I'm assuming there's a limited number of, I mean, there's certainly a limited number of variables that you would consider, as most people are working on their config, I would think.
Yeah.
And if you could say, hey, I have these motors, I have, this type of heater or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming there's ways you can, pre-configure some of those things that people have questions. What's the thermistor type, or
Right.
all those things.
Exactly.
Wow.
And with all the with the various vendor kits, right? You've got a set number of things that you're putting in the kits, right? So that also narrows
Mhm.
it down quite a lot. We could just say, okay, here's the common denominators that everyone's using, and hopefully go from there.
Wow.
And do all that, and a couple other things I'm still kind of kicking around.
That would be amazing. And I mean, that certainly, there's a lot of people. I see a lot of people, and I think, as you start moving into printers for ants, I think right now the people that are drawn there are people that are building their second or third DIY heavily involved printer, right? They have a Voron or two or three, and they're like, what's my next project? There's nothing, you know, there's no, wiring harnesses or anything like that that are currently available. So I mean, you're all doing things. I mean, it's people that have been involved and feel comfortable, right?
Yeah.
But I can see for both the printers for ants, I can see also for Voron printers. I mean, there's people that probably would get involved if we were able to sort of lower that entry, or that, I guess, people's reservations for getting involved. I mean, Clipper is something that most people into 3D printing haven't used. Going through configuration files like that is something that most people haven't done. So, I mean, I can definitely see. And while, I mean, now we're all, at least the people on this call probably are multiple printers in, and we can walk through it like nothing. I mean, we all probably were at a point where we had questions, or you're sitting there trying to decipher the config file and understand sort of what you need to do. So that'd be awesome. That really would be cool.
And I think printers for ants is a great area to experiment with this stuff as opposed to mainline Voron, because it really is the mad science, area, right? We're going to throw everything against the wall, and some of it'll stick, and that can eventually work its way back into the mainstream. So I think it's a great area for all the different printer designers, and just try something new and follow your passion and see if it helps.
Yeah, that's awesome. Somebody I saw, Nick responded to. I don't know if you've seen how the Rat OS for Rat Rig, how they do things. It's very interesting. So you basically, if I remember right, it broadcasts a Wi-Fi, and you log in. You give it your Wi-Fi credentials and all of that, and it kind of pre-configures a lot of the stuff for you, at least the mainsail part of it. So someone mentioned that. It's definitely a cool thing. I think just a config generator, though, would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I haven't looked at Rat Rig, but I'll take a look and see what I can see about that, because all ideas are good ideas.
So a couple questions here. So Maple Leaf Makers asks, why do you think the Voron project attracts such a disproportionately large number of software people, or have you not noticed that?
I agree. My theory, being a software person, we write code all day. We do things. It's rewarding, but at the end of the day, it's still all virtual. It's lines in a computer somewhere, or data in a database. You can't take it home with you. You can't pick it up. You can't touch it. We're all creative. We're creating stuff all day, but none of it's real. Whereas I can go to my printer, design something, and then half hour later hold it in my hands. To me, that's what attracted me. It's allowed me to create things that are real.
So to stretch that a little bit further, so do you think it's because if you're in software, like you're saying, you could be working and not do that? If you were in another trade, let's say you're a machinist or something like that, I mean, you do literally make things that you're touching.
Right.
on a daily basis. Okay. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting. Interesting
Yeah,
concept.
that's my theory.
Yeah. Zombie Hedgehog asked if you are following or what do you think about the Rook project? Are you aware of that printer?
I saw it at
Rumor.
Rimriff. Yeah. Um, I don't remember much about it. That was one that was mostly printed, right?
Yeah, it's mostly printer parts. It's also a small printer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
not.
didn't see too much about that. I was spending a lot of time chatting with the guy who had a snake oil, I think it was
Oh yeah.
called, printer.
Uh-huh.
That one I thought was really cool. I thought they did a lot of cool things in that one, so I had spent most of my time there with that. But most of my time at that was I was at the Voron booth building a Trident, or helping LJ to do it once he came in and just he is an absolute whirlwind at building those printers.
So the Trident that was being built, that wasn't your printer, it was somebody else's?
No, that was the one we were doing the giveaway.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Wow, I missed that whole thing. I mean, I remember there was a giveaway. I didn't know that was the thing being built. I'm
That's the one
oblivious
that was
a lot
right
of the
across from
times.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. No excuse. That's just yeah, me being oblivious. Well, let's see. Do you guys have any other questions?
Well, yeah, I'd like to hear a little bit about how you got started on the Boop project, because boy, do I
Oh,
love
yeah.
that.
So yeah, Boop. That one was to me that was a pretty obvious one. Tap came out and it was a game changer. Um, it was a completely new way that of getting our Z levels correct and everything else. It was so accurate and showing me just how bad of a job I did building my printers. And like anything, the first thing that comes to my mind when something cool comes out is how can I shrink this and put it on an ant farm printer? And so that one was just, yeah, I got to try doing this. I had actually waited until several betas in, just because the changes were fast and furious. And it's like once things were looking pretty much settled, then and it was like, okay, can I even make this fit on a 1515 gantry and stuff like that? Just because tap is a fairly large thing, and how much build space are we going to lose? And so I did a ton of internal. I've got a big bag of just like failed Boop iterations that I'm keeping around for posterity. And then, yeah, that one just kind of came about as like something we have to do for the ant farms. The one thing I really wished we could have done was make it work on a V0, because that was always my gripe about the V0 is just there's no Z probe. And again, with my poorly assembled V0 that had fallen off a counter and bent rails, and it needs some help. So I'm like, yeah, that's why I could never get my Z correct on my V0. Completely my fault. So I was like, yeah, if I could make this work, but it was just one of those. There was just no way to do it. And then we saw Mastermind's Pandora gantry, and like, oh, could put that on there and that'd probably work. And then some people were testing that, and with the cantilever bed, it just still was a no-go. But a lot of effort was made to try and make that happen. A lot of people definitely had a lot of ideas. And right now the Boop development team is just knocking it out. You know, they're doing such a great job. I'm running Boop on all of my solid forks. I know there are people with full size Vorons that are interested in running Boop because they want the as light of the entry as they can make. So it's really gathering some steam. So I'm thrilled with where it's gone.
No, that's awesome. I know, Alan, you have it on the Micron. So did you do Boop too? Yeah.
Yep, I've got Boop 4. Is it Boop 4? I think whatever the latest one was.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. It was a little harrowing at first, because as Daniel had mentioned, we're building sort of the alpha kits, and we had spec'd C carriages, which, as you know, don't really work. And it's kind of a testament to the machining tolerances of our Berserker rails, because the kits that we have are using the first run of our kind of, Berserker for printer for ants sized rails. And I'm also getting ready. I keep saying I'm getting ready. At some point, I'm going to rebuild my V2. So I already had some MGN 9s here, and I just kind of lined up the rails, camera, lined them up one into the other, and slid the new carriage onto the other rail, and they're just perfect. So, but yeah, it was funny because I just saw the pin in the Boop thread about like, no, you can't do this on an MGN 9C, because I'm looking at it and I'm like, no, physics is not going to allow that linear rail to go in between those four screws. So
Yeah, I in the early Boop development, I spent quite a few nights trying to see if there was any way at all to make that work without too many other compromises, and there was just too many other compromises. So I basically did the same thing, and I committed crimes against Rails to get a 9 in there, and my gantry was definitely not happy with me for a while until I could replace that with a proper rail. But yeah,
Yeah, so I guess we have to throw H's on. I don't know if we have done that yet. But good news is they worked.
1 second.
Wait, throw H's on an order or throw H's on the printers?
I don't remember if I ordered them in H's now after you guys ran into that. So I'm just gonna write that down.
I think I think either tried to convince you to do it or you did it.
I'm writing it down.
Hopefully.
I'll make sure. Cool. Yeah, no, I mean, it worked really well. Alan, I mean, at the event, I mean, we must have run 20 prints, 30 prints, and I mean, it just seemed like it did really well every time. Yeah, that with the adaptive purge is just a really nice combo too.
yeah, I ran that thing pretty much nonstop Friday evening through earlier today, and just it does its thing, and it's adorable to watch it go boinking around and QGL and then do the adaptive bed mesh, and just perfect results. So
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, adaptive bed mesh is awesome. I run that on everything now. Such a great project.
Yeah, I know. It's like, where is that van? So Yeri, I mean, your salad forks, are they 160s or are you running the original 120s?
I never actually built a 120.
Oh, really?
No, I built
They're
the
all
only
160?
yeah, all 160. I think the only one that I've seen was, I know Steve built the 120. And I have enough frame parts I could kind of assemble a skeleton just to make sure the electronics would actually fit. That's was a big concern. You got to be creative at the 120 size. It's to the point where it's probably worth considering going to an external power supply.
Really?
If you're doing a 120, because it gets really cramped in there.
I'm assuming the 160 is also still pretty cramped.
It's cramped, but it's not bad. I think once I relocate the AC inlet to the other side, it'll be a lot better. On the one that I had built recently, I took my time and made sure all the wiring was nice and neat and well organized, and it really wasn't bad, other than having to cross wires over and under just because things were on the wrong side. So it's definitely doable. It's tight because of the U2C CAN bus board. That takes up extra space. Once I think we get to the point where you're using a board with native CAN interface on it and you don't need the U2C board, then it's no problem at 160 and 180. Yeah, it should be super easy.
Cool. Let's see. So I am curious. I mean, obviously you're making changes and you're updating the salad fork, but maybe outside of that, is there anything on that printer, or I guess you can throw another printer under the bus if you really want, but anything that you would like to see changed on the printer? And if there is something that you really want to see changed, what would it be? Even if it's something you can't do right now.
I will definitely throw salad fork under the bus for this one. The one thing I would change is there is too much over travel in the front. What I wanted to do was build about 15 millimeters of over travel, just so you have room in the back to do nozzle brushes and stuff like that. And kind of the front of it is not space efficient. I wanted to have some extra room because one of my goals was to make it a platform that others could experiment with, because there was all kinds of cool toolhead designs that were in the printers for ants, and some were bigger, some were smaller. It's like, and it's the one thing that I don't like about the V0. I love the V0, but there is no room in there. There's just no room in there. It is completely efficient. And I wanted to have a little more room to play, because that's what I like doing. I like modding and experimenting and trying stuff. So I wanted to have some room, but I left too much room in the front.
Okay.
So that, if there's ever a Salad Fork 2.0 where I will change frame dimensions, that would be the #1 item on the list to do for that.
Okay.
But since I'm not changing frame dimensions, it is what it is for now.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than having no space. I will say that's been my challenge too, is the V0, like even just my, the placement, because I want a camera inside inside the enclosure that I can record or watch the status. And like, it's crammed like in the back. It's like some super like compact, thing. And I still can't even get the full bed and frame. Like it's, there's nothing. I know that there are mods for other things, but it'd be great if you could just throw a normal Nevermore in there and not lose anything. There's a whole bunch of things that you definitely would be nice. I think having the space, and I don't know, Civi, I don't remember what you're gonna do or what you did with yours, but it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure it's a lot nicer when it comes to that.
For the Nevermore?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 0 filters. That was the way to go. I mean, you can still do a micro V4 and a duo. My issue with that is just it took up a lot of the panel space, and I like to see the plate from every angle. So you can still do those, though. That works.
Oh, see, yeah, that's it. No, I've got the LED panels, which are super fun. I got Timit's LED panels, which are great, but it's like I can't put the Nevermore in there because I'm not gonna see anything. That was it. My bad.
I think that's a big advantage to the Trident style design, is that you have a lot of real estate on the sides for things like that. Like a big kind of shout out to the people in the West 3D chat. They have like their boombox filter that's like a recirculating HEPA and was it carbon filter that simply isn't possible on a V2 style flying gantry design.
Because the V2 flying gantry is so full of coal that there's just no room for that other stuff.
It absolutely makes up for it. But
there's a very lighthearted rivalry amongst some of us regarding lead screws versus flying gantries.
Everything you guys see on Discord happens in person too. Yeah.
I am in camp lead screw, so tonight we're all lead screw fans or else.
Yeah. Gosh, that's funny.
No, it's a very common question that we get from prospective builders is, well, which is better, a Trident or a V2? And why we will joke about why we think one is better than the other. Honestly, it's whatever floats your boat. What what is more? What do you think is cooler? Watching a plane be leveled via 3 points, or watching a gantry level that's floating on belts? And that is the correct answer.
Curious, you mentioned, it's cool seeing all the really cool tool heads and things like that. And you wanted to build the South Fork kind of as a single platform that can accept that kind of stuff. Maybe it's a two-part question, but what tool heads are you running? And if it's different than the cool ones that that you see, what is the cool one that you want to run?
So currently I am running the mini stealth burner
Okay.
on these. Um, I was running those before they were officially released, just to make sure everything worked well, and they were a tremendous upgrade. Even though Solid Fork was spec'd with mini afterburner, I didn't run mini afterburner at all in it. I immediately went to the mini after Sherpa with the OGX Lite on top of it, and I was running that pretty well. I think I changed out for something else briefly for a while. I was playing around with something, and then mini Stealth Burner was released into beta. I'm like, oh, I got to put that on there because I'd heard about the cooling improvements and everything else. I'm like, well, we got to see if that's true. And so yeah, just immediately just jumped on that, and they've been working well for me. I definitely would think that I'm in the future would probably go back to one of the two-part tool heads, just so I can play with different extruders.
Yeah.
Because that's, there's so many cool extruder designs coming out that I want to be able to play with those. So maybe there might be another tool head change in the future before too long.
Did you see I don't remember if it was it was at Murph, but maybe you've seen it, but LDO's new Orbiter 3.0, which is actually a full hot end extruder combo. So it's
No, I did not see that.
okay.
Sounds interesting though.
It looks interesting. I don't think it's going to be like ultra high flow or anything like that, but it is interesting to see that. And the Orbiter is a really awesome extruder, so it's nice seeing sort of a new iteration.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully in a few months we get our hands on one. It'd be sweet. Sandy was asking if you've tried the Dragon Burner or Rapid Burner. Have you tried any of those? Okay,
No.
that's the one that Civi's got in the background there. It looks like it's a Dragon Burner, I think.
Rapid burner, actually. Yeah. Since I did a Rapido too.
Are you doing the Rapido UHF?
No, I'm doing high flow, so you had to use the volcano mount for the rapid burner. But Chirpy, I think, had mentioned at one point that the fan hits the hot end a little bit differently, so it's more towards the heat sink if you do rapid burner with your high flow Rapido. So I'm trying it and seeing if there's any difference because I have Dragon Burner hanging out too. So
cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Somebody asked again if you could explain Yeri mode. And I missed the question before, so they even asked it to come up and I missed it. So you didn't miss it. Here it is. Here's the question.
Yeah, Yeri mode is I'm a big boy. I am like 6'4" and some change, so I kind of tower over everything. So that is the origins of Yeri mode, is just make everything big and huge, and there you go.
But then
I know Steve's got a picture. I think he even showed on his stream at one point of us at Earth last year, and yeah, Steve comes up to like here.
Oh, that's awesome. And then you build little tiny printers.
And then I build little tiny printers. I have little tiny dogs, you know.
Somebody also asked, let me see if I can find it again. Oh, would you ever, so, I mean, you mentioned that you wanted to build a little bit of extra travel space for things like brushes and things. Have you ever considered putting any of those as like kind of standard BOM, or are you trying to leave those as sort of you choose mod kind of things?
I would I would leaning towards keeping those as mods just because there's so many different ways that you could do those, and the community is just coming up with all these other ones. Like, I don't think I could compete with what the community could produce there. You know, I would just come up with something, you know, pretty basic, fits into space, but that's one of those. I give you the space. This is your toy box. Do something cool with it.
That makes sense. And I mean, that's one of the great things I think about, about the printers, and especially just the printers for ants community. There are a ton of mods out there that people are constantly developing, and of course the Voron community, tons of mods. Sometimes they make it to be, either part of the standard BOM, or if there's something like that, they just become so commonplace, like the Nevermore. I mean,
Yeah.
you just see them on every printer now, and it's still, I mean, it's still a mod. You still choose your own adventure if you want to do that or not. But it is one of the things that just makes it great. I think, at least.
Yeah, and I think kind of my other kind of philosophy is that I don't want the printer to have as part of the BOM anything that is technically not necessary, because I still don't run a brush on mine. Um, I just have never needed it, even with boop running. It's just I just retract my filament at the end of the print, and it just hasn't been a problem for me. So I wouldn't want to make that something that everyone has to build when not everyone necessarily is going to want it or need it, and then increases, you know, the BOM cost for anyone who is building it. So it's plenty of mods. If I think if you have value to it, put it on your printer. But it didn't really strike me as things I would put into a stock build.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, that's an interesting one too, or it's a hard one because I mean, even yeah, I'm thinking. I mean, I know that we have a member in our channel that like swears by, I don't know, he can like custom do like a silicone brush specifically for that. I mean, there's a lot of also just challenges. We've had challenges sourcing the right brushes, and it's like when we find a source that's like the right brush, it's like, give me all of them kind of thing. Because there's also just a lot. I mean, people will mess up their things if they don't know what they're doing. And I think, as you mentioned with the software side of things, there are a lot of people that may be experiencing the printer and building it for the first time and haven't gone down the rabbit hole. So
Yeah,
it might be good to keep
absolutely.
it basic.
Yeah, I was recently helping a friend of mine build his first Voron,
Oh,
and I made him do all the work. It was, but I was there to help him, and the whole time, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, I'm watching. Where are you having problems? And this was on a Trident, so
okay.
pretty
I was gonna
straightforward
ask.
build.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. No, I wouldn't start someone off on a first France machine. I'm not that masochistic, but it was enlightening watching someone who's a smart individual, but building a 3D printer. Where do you run into problems? And that's okay. How do we design that better or document it better? Or so
Yeah.
it's fascinating.
No, that's great. What was there any part of that you were like kind of an aha moment? Like, hey, this is really where I can see a lot of people struggling.
There was one, and this one comes up several times in the Trident channel on Discord as well. It's with the rear Z mount brackets, uh, because that's an offset,
Mhm.
and it can be difficult to tell the perspective in the manual, which side you're looking at, and that can cause some confusion. And because that's kind of a not natural thing when you're building a printer and all the extrusions are lining up flush, and then you get to this one spot where they don't line up flush. And, I made that mistake when I was building it too. It's like, I'm just going to tighten this thing up to its flush. And then why is this extrusion at an angle? I did something wrong. And so it's when you're doing things that are kind of contrary to what you're been trained to expect by that point in the build. I think that's kind of the takeaway there is whenever you're kind of changing gears a little bit like that is make sure we've got extra good documentation around that step.
Yeah. There was a question in chat, and this is assuming that you like video games. What's your favorite video game?
I do play video games, not as much as I used to. And it's very difficult for me to stay on one and finish it. But right now, if you just go by number of hours I've played on it, would be Factorio by a huge margin.
Factorial?
Factorio.
Factorio, is that like a builder kind of thing or a sim?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I'm Googling it. That's my type of thing.
I would
Yeah, I
be
think
careful.
Yeah, if you value your free time. Fortunately, I played that before I got into Voron. So otherwise, we'd be having a different conversation.
Okay, I've got the page up. This looks cool. It's my kind of game.
Be careful.
Yeah, this is the kind of game I like. When I was younger, there was a thing called 2 a.m. games, I remember, and it was like it was kind of a big thing for a little while, and they ended up going out of business because they couldn't get funding. It was one of those like they host everything. But think like this is like mid 90s or basically where it was just, I'm sure, really expensive. They ran out of money, but there's a game there that's kind of like this. It looks like, at least, that I've been trying to find for many, many years. In fact, I even reached out to the guy that owned the company, like seeing if I could find a way to buy it and like somehow host it myself. And okay, cool. I'm glad someone asked that question. I'm gonna check this thing out.
And then he was never heard from again.
Yeah,
That sounds about right.
That's what everybody's saying. It's the end of West 3D. And now the orders are delayed 2 months. Oh, okay. I'm gonna try it. I've been playing a little bit of Diablo 4. That's been my outlet where the kids have been gone. Anyway, that's a tangent. Why don't we do a little bit of trivia and and then we can finish asking some other questions. Should we do gift cards or should we do more SolidWorks shirts? We'll let the team decide.
Well, why
Or
not
we
both?
can let them choose. Let's let them choose. Just send an email and they can choose. I'm good to buy as many SolidWorks shirts or give out me gift cards, so that works. Let's see. Alan, you haven't asked one.
I haven't. And this is the part of the broadcast where I always draw a blank. But, well, Yeri and I were talking about motorcycling earlier. So let's see. This will be one of those guessing game types. So back when I was still riding, I went on a trip from Connecticut, which is where I was living at the time, to Kentucky to go riding in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And on my trip home, I almost could have gotten an award for my ride, which I can talk about later. But the question is, how many miles did I ride in that day? And we'll do it, game show style, closest answer without going over. No, Daniel, it was more than a mile.
I was going for the under. Everyone was doing
Oh,
really high
okay.
ones. And then yeah, someone threw out 150, so that kind of ruined it. Are any of them in the ballpark?
Nathan Builds Robots has
Is
got
that
it. It was actually 940 miles, and yes, if I had planned it and documented it, if I had done 1,000 miles in the day, then I could have gotten my Saddle Sore 1000 from the Iron Butt Association. But since I wasn't planning on it, I didn't have any of the documentation because you have to note your odometer and then get your gas receipts and things along the way to prove what you rode. But yeah, I rode from Kentucky to Connecticut in pretty much one continuous ride. I basically was braking every 2 hours. So ride 2 hours, take a break, ride another 2 hours, get gas, maybe get some food. But yes, so Nathan, send us your info. You can email that to info@west3d.com or ping any of us on Discord and we will get you prizes.
sweet? Yeah, that is a lot of miles.
Yeah,
On a
but
bike too. Like I
well,
mean, in a car,
as we were
it'd be
talking
another
about,
story.
it started life as a California Highway Patrol bike, so it was built for comfort. Um,
That's nice.
and I also had a heated jacket and heated gloves and socks and yeah, but this bike was really just built to, you know, just ride until it needs gas, fill it up, and keep riding.
Well, yeah, that's cool. I've actually the only time I've ridden a bike, um, I saved my wife from electrocution. I'm not kidding. We rented a bike in Thailand. We were in one of the islands, and we were turning a corner, and there was a live electrical line that had been hanging from, like, it had been cut, and was just hanging on the street, and we were turning right into it, and I sort of swerved out of the way. I also gave her some nice tire rash too, because the first time I went, I didn't give it enough when we were turning, and it tipped over, and she's got a nice little burn mark on her leg still. It's small. It's small. Anyway, so I've got a question. I've spent 5 6 hours, I don't know, a lot of hours fixing a printer that whoever designed it definitely did not intend for it to ever break, or you ever need to replace something, or they just really enjoyed people in pain, I guess. I mean, it was something else. I don't curse a lot. I cursed a lot, and got to the point where I was about to throw this thing out the window. So, yeah, that's my question. Which printer was it? And I love the Voron Design team, so I'll give you a hint. It's not. I'm not saying any of them have really cruel intentions.
Major Gamer Geek got it.
Yes,
First
it's
guess.
that Bamboo X1C. I am telling you, I ripped the thing apart, and there are things that's like double-sided tape, and it's like, no, it wasn't. Yeah. Yeah. It is working though now, but don't ever, if one breaks, just give it away, throw it out the window, do something. You don't want to repair it.
And
I know why they were sending, at first they were actually like, you would send the whole printer, they would just like, hey, send it back to us and they'll give you a new one. I mean, really, that would have been better. So anyway, that's me ragging on that. Anyway, Major Gamer Geek, hey, you know what, you're gonna come to the Protopasta meetup on the 19th. Let me know what you want and I'll just bring it there. Sorry, I know who that is. Awesome. Do we have any more trivia that you want to do? Yuri, you can do your second
Yep.
one if you want.
Sure thing. So since I am the legendary Florida man, we went to Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Festival, which is in Denver, which is 5,000 feet above, you know, sea level, I think, something like that. And it was spring and the weather was volatile. And when I got there, it was kind of cold. Now I came prepared. So Saturday was the coldest day of the weekend. How many layers of clothing was I wearing just to attempt to stay warm?
Yeah, Florida will do that to you.
Very much. It was cold and damp, and yeah.
All right, John Klopp has it with 5.
5 layers. So you've got what, like an undershirt? Were you wearing like 3 long sleeve shirts and 2 jackets or something? Or how does that work? That's a lot.
Short sleeve undershirt, long sleeve shirt, hoodie, and then a big thick fleece.
Okay. I just imagine, like, you not being able to close your arms because it's just so much. I could see, like,
Yeah.
how little kids get those little puff jackets in the snow. That's what I'm imagining.
Yeah.
Yeri in a giant puff jacket.
Yeah, pretty much look like one of the South Park kids.
Oh man.
It always makes me think of the little brother in A Christmas Story when the mother puts him in so many layers and his arms are stuck out like this. And there's, I have to go to the bathroom.
So I had a question that's totally unrelated to printers, and I was just curious. And I think someone maybe asked before too. What's your favorite all-time television show?
Ooh. That is a tough one.
Is there anything you're watching now that you really like?
Not so much. We just finished watching The Last of Us, which was really
Oh,
well
that's
done.
fun. Yeah.
I was amazed how well they pulled off that coming from a video game. And that was like one of the probably only like handful of games that I've actually ever finished. It was so good. But as far as probably my all-time favorite TV show, it's a toss-up between a couple, but the answer is gonna be Firefly.
Oh, you're a fire. Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
With The Expanse coming in really close second.
And Nathan Builds Robots asked if you built a snow angel.
Not this time, but I have in the past when I was younger. My family's from the north, so I've done that in the past.
I was gonna say, embarrassing question. When was the last time you built a snow angel?
Long time ago. Back when I was only 14 feet tall.
See, mine was last winter, but I mean, when you have kids, then you get an excuse to act like one yourself sometimes.
Yeah, you could probably do it in the beach here, but the sand is broiling hot. That wouldn't be as much fun.
No. Oh, and then you get sand everywhere. That's the only problem with sand. I love beaches. I love the thought of sand. I don't like leaving the sand.
Yeah, it's either sandy
with you.
beach, which is nice, or a shell beach, which is nice, but in different ways. But you either got sand everywhere, you get cut up everything from the shell. So there's no way to win.
The shells usually, though, give you really clear water, right? Isn't that kind of the trade-off? I know rock beaches usually have really clear water.
I don't think I've ever noticed a difference. I think it's
Okay.
more about the region because on the East Coast, we've got shell and sand beaches on the East Coast of Florida. And I haven't really noticed difference in clarity of the water. I think it's more the water itself. 'Cause if you go to the West Coast, over to the whatever West Coast Florida, yeah, the big bay there, the water over there is a lot clearer.
Okay. Have you ever, I mean, just because you're in Florida, I should have asked you, Alan, too. You guys ever wrangle up any alligators or anything like that? I talked to someone that like was an alligator hunter.
Wrangled, no. Seen a million of them, absolutely.
Any close encounters?
Mm, nothing in a negative way. If you go golfing at all in Florida, you
Oh,
will
yeah.
just see them sunning themselves on the fairway. Leaving them alone, they'll leave you alone. And I've gotten fairly close. I've gotten to within about 10 feet of one.
Okay.
That's about as close as I was willing to
Yeah.
go. And it wasn't a huge one either, so I knew he wasn't going to mess with me. But yeah, they're pretty much everywhere. And if you go out hiking or doing anything out there, you just kind of know what to look for. They're there. You don't see them, but they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be hard to get used to.
And they do, at least if it's deep fried, it does indeed taste like chicken.
It does.
Yep.
Little mushy texture, but the flavor is pretty reminiscent.
Huh. Which one? I mean, it's one of those things. Like I kind of, when people are like, they're eating seafood and they love it because they're like, it tastes like chicken. To me, I'm like, you saying you don't like seafood because you're comparing it to something else that you obviously do like. Is alligator the same way? Like it's not as good, but it kind of gives you that chicken-esque or chicken-esque taste.
I'd say so. Yeah, to me it does.
Like, would you ever
I think
choose
it's
it on the
comparable
menu?
to frog.
Would you ever choose it on the menu? Be like, oh, there's an alligator, I'm getting that.
Nah, I've had it. I've tried it a couple times. It's good, but yeah, I think it's more of a novelty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hanging out with someone that recommended this, and we got what I referred to as the critter poo poo platter because it was alligator, frog, and turtle.
Huh.
That's an interesting combo.
Yeah. Hmm. I don't, yeah, as a novelty, I could see ordering something like that. But yeah. Somebody asked, what's your favorite stock printer? It's not a salad fork. You can't use your own.
Okay, favorite stock printer would have to be the Trident.
That also seems like it's cheating.
Yeah, that was kind of that was a softball if there ever was one.
Okay, so we've asked this question on other streams. I'm curious, what was your first 3D printer?
My first 3D printer was an Ender 5 Pro.
Okay. Me too. Well,
And
in a second, but yeah.
Yeah, so I got that. Started playing with it, kind of got into the whole 3D printing. Like, oh yeah, this is way too much fun. Started downloading some modifications for it, which now that I, know what I'm doing a little bit more than back then, I can see were basically completely useless, but they looked cool. But when I was putting it together, it's like I thought it was going to be this big complicated thing, and it was just put together a few things out of the box. I'm like, oh, this is way easier than building a PC or something. So it didn't take me long to run into the limitations of that. The bed that kind of resembles the Rocky Mountains. Managed to I put a BL touch probe on that, managed to kill that, even in unenclosed.
I bricked the what firmware or something. I forgot what it was, but it used to be if you didn't do it the right way, it was like really easy to brick. I think I had to get a new board or something like that.
Yeah, I managed to somehow bend the pin on that while probing. I have no idea how that happened. But
see, I remember using these things, or like foil you could use too, but like this sort of flatten the bed in different areas. You're like stacking up how many sticky notes do you have to stack up to
to get it, yeah, even remotely
Yeah.
level. Oh yeah. So then, and I had the stock Creality firmware on it, and then I was hearing about this Marlin thing, and it's got this bed mesh. I'm like, well, that may solve some problems. So I learned how to flash all that on there, and I quickly ran into the limitations that there wasn't enough free space in there for it to actually save the bed mesh, and it would lock up the printer after you took a mesh, unless you took like a 3-point mesh, which was kind of useless.
Yeah.
And then I heard about Clipper, and it was still kind of early days for Clipper at that point, but like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. Take all the work off there, put it on something that's got a lot more horsepower. So I hooked up a Pi, reflashed that. Okay, this is cool. And then I started thinking, okay, well, what next? And I started hearing about do-it-yourself printers and stuff like that. I'm like, well, this was fairly easy to build. Let me start kind of seeing what's out there. And I'd heard about a couple different ones. Voron came up. There was one, I think it was like the Hypercube or something. It was kind of like all that. And I'm looking on YouTube, and I came across Nero streams. And oh, here's this guy who's building Vorons. And I watched a few of those. I'm like, I can do that. And before too long, I was self-sourcing a V0.
Not cool. Do you still have your Ender 5?
I do. It is a wonderful device for stacking spool holders on.
Wasn't one of the issues though too is I thought that didn't the bed kind of sag, or like didn't it like there was like a
Yeah.
version that just like it would slowly just go down on itself if you when you turn it on.
This one doesn't do that, but this one, 'cause I think they made a few more revisions to it, but mine is fully cantilevered, so it's one screw and 2 rods in the back, and that's it.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so at some point I'm thinking about doing that conversion that
Mercury 1.
that mod turned into a Core XY.
Yeah. It's a cool conversion. I actually bought a new I sold my Ender 5 because I didn't have enough money to get the next printer I wanted. So I sold that, but we did buy another one simply to do the Mercury 1 conversion. It looks pretty fun, and I mean definitely it looks like it will breathe life back into that printer for you.
Yeah, and I was thinking that would be great. Do that, replace the bed on it with something halfway decent, and turn it into a PLA machine. That way I don't have to, do PLA on my Vorons.
Yeah, I was using that. Actually, that was during the pandemic, like when everyone was doing the printed, ear receivers and all that stuff. It was a great little machine for that. I mean, for the most part, you have to relevel it every once in a while, but like for the most part, you could just press print, and as long as you're not going super fast, it seemed like it did a decent job.
Yep.
So when did you get into it then? Do you know when you got the Ender 5?
I want to say 2019.
Oh wow!
Well,
So you've made a lot of, I mean, and I was looking at your, you have a repository and stuff, and it looks like you were doing mods for V0. You have the magnetic panels.
Yep.
And then I think there was a triple Z or something like that.
Yep.
3Z. And so that was in 2021, something like that, early.
Sounds about right.
Maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, that timeline works.
No matter 2 years, you're modding printers, and then in 3 years you made your own.
Sounds about right.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. Man, yeah, I can't. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it clicked with me. It really did. It just it was compatible with the way I think about things, and it's taps that creative energy, and it gave me some of those early mods that I did were just, I have this V0 and I want to print PLA, and I don't like unscrewing all this stuff. I bet I could do something magnetic, and that kind of just did that. And I know that was a kind of popular mod for a while, and then there are much better ones out there now they really did a good job on those.
I think I've even seen a YouTube video where someone was putting it together, that mod. So yeah, but no, the magnets is definitely, it seems like the way to go. I think it would be awesome to have on the salad fork too.
It would. The only problem is making it self-printable without requiring a larger printer.
Oh, yeah.
I tried doing that on one of the revisions of the V0, and it's just because of the size difference between the bed and the frame, you can't, on the solid fork, you just can't self-print it. Now, given that it's a printer for ants, it's most likely not your first printer, you most likely got a larger format printer hanging around, it wouldn't be a bad deal to do a a larger size 4-piece thing and just chuck it on your 300 and call it a day.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so maybe a mod's coming then.
Mod might be coming because I still don't like having to unscrew my panels, and I haven't found any panel clips that I like on 1515. There's some out that are really cool. Zubruncho's got his zero panels,
Yeah.
which I love that, but I just didn't want to have to fiddle with trying to get it to fit, the extrusions on this printer, which are different from the ones on that printer. So that's the closest I've come to finding one that's like, oh yeah, that's the complete winner on the 1515s. On the 2020s, you got plenty of options. I use the regular hinge latch ones. I like those. Yeah. But the annex clip style ones, just on 1515, they're very brittle. I'm using them for the front door because I want to redesign that. And I printed like 50 of them because I break about one a week, just trying to undo the latch.
Yeah. I'm just curious. Well, actually, first I gotta do justice to the chat. Someone's asking, what's your favorite filament?
What's my favorite filament? Fusion.
Fusion? Yeah, they do great stuff. Yeah.
They do. I have a lot of KVP from before the move that I break out for special occasions.
Now this is before the KVP move.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So I've got a lot of different colors there because I just love their color selection. It's amazing. But yeah, so since the move happened, I've been trying to find others, and it's just Fusion is just very easy to print. The colors are good. I love the amount of sparkle in them. And that's just kind of been my go-to filament ever since I found them. I still have some other ones that I use here and there, but I would say 90% of my stuff is Fusion.
Sweet. Yeah, I know that we have a couple of Fusion users too.
Do you
I'm not. I don't think I've ever tried Fusion, actually. I just know that they're really good.
Do you prefer the ABS 1.5 or the ABS 2.0?
I have printed both, and I started by printing the 2.0, and then they had the supply issue, so I started printing with the 1.5, and I think I like the 1.5 better. I just seem to have a little better time with it, at least with the way I've got my printers tuned. So your mileage will definitely vary, but I like the finish on it, and I've had great results. So I'm kind of sticking with that.
Yeah, that's go ahead.
Someone at Murph brought, remember I believe Einstein's, they brought those 2 AB drives to our booth at Murph. That was the ABS 1.5, and it was like that really nice matte finish.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Yeah, that is awesome. I'm a big fan of matte finish on black. That's my favorite. Yeah, and it's hard to get. So that's awesome. I will try out the Fusion. And it's one of those things, I don't know, my advice usually for people is find a filament that you like, tune it, and keep buying that filament. Like, like you said, I mean, KVP, I still think prints really well, but I think they've had more issues with their QC and how they're doing things sort of post move. But, it's one of those, like, if you had been using that and it didn't run into problems, I mean, you keep using it, I think it's you keep changing things, and, sometimes different colors and stuff can be more challenging, but I usually try to find one brand or two maybe and stick to it just because I'm lazy. Question for you. How did you get involved with the Voron Design team?
What, I'm sorry, what was that?
How did you get involved with the Voron Design team? I mean, I know you said that you sort of decided to choose to build a Voron from watching like streams and seeing stuff online, but how did you actually get involved with the team?
I mean, like, how did I get as part of one?
Yeah.
Oh, I was out having anniversary dinner with my wife, and my Discord started exploding. And I opened it up, and it was everyone congratulating me.
So there's not like an application process or anything like that?
No, and what process there is a well-guarded secret.
Okay. But obviously the subject isn't always aware.
That's all can be the case, yes.
That's funny. Can I add, so what were your contributions, I guess, before that point in time?
Really, I was just kind of doing my own thing, right? I was doing mods, and because I like helping people, so I'd be hanging out in the primarily the Trident channel, because that's near and dear to my heart, and just trying to be helpful with people doing their builds, and of course then Solid Fork and everything else. So spent a lot of time doing that. So it was really just for me. I think my only history would have been doing stuff that interested me and trying to be a good community member. But I didn't really have any, like, I'm doing this because I want to join the Voron Design team and stuff like that. It was really just I wanted to do what interests me.
Oh, that's great. I mean, it's one thing. It's so cool how the there's a question. Is the Voron Design team a cult?
I could
think
tell you, but
no, I mean, one of the things that I mean, I've said it before, but I mean, just the community generally that are there. And I mean, you always have, people that are not the most productive, in that community settings, but by and large, I mean, there's such a good community as far as the core community in Voron that it's fantastic, and it's awesome. It sounds like you were, that's sort of how you were inducted into it, just being one of those really valuable members of the community. It's great. All right, do any of you guys have other questions that you wrote down or you have now?
Does Prusa research control Voron Design?
really,
I mean, hey, there was a Voron research printer at Murph. I had to ask, and it was a Trident, so worth a shot.
yeah, no, not to my knowledge.
No.
So, guys, it's that deep. Yeri doesn't even know.
That's right.
I'm trying to think of. Yeah. Sorry, I've got someone pulling up to my house. It doesn't always happen. You guys have other questions? Sibby, questions about Salad Fork?
Not at the moment. I'm gonna DM you a whole bunch though. I do have plenty to talk about.
Fire away. Yeah.
Nothing specific right now in terms of just general build questions, other than I'm really excited for what would this be, Rev 1 or Rev 2 or like Rev 1.1?
It'll be 1.1 because the frame isn't changing. So
Okay.
Is that
Yeah,
your criteria?
obviously we're
for-
introducing a new size, but
Is
I'm
that
sorry,
your
what's that?
criteria for calling it like 2? Is that you want to see
Yeah.
the frame change?
Yeah, so 1.1 is it's still compatible with all the existing stuff out there.
Okay.
That 2.0 would be when if I ever do that, right? If there's enough reason to do that, would be to shrink that over travel, maybe redesign how that bed works on the front side of it. But that would be a frame change, and that would be like a brand new generation of printer.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I want to make sure everything we do is backwards compatible as much as possible, except for printed part changes and stuff like that.
So somebody asked, and it was actually something I was going to ask too. Dr. Dave asked, "What's your beard secret? How do you make it look so awesome?"
Listening to dwarven heavy metal
Naturally forms.
naturally formed, grows an inch a day. Yeah, other than that, it's just normal beard care stuff that there's plenty of better people who know about it than I do. Just rinse it, use conditioner, use that heavy beard balm wax stuff.
I'm just impressed I've never been able to get it long. This is usually about where I have to be like, I'm ready to shave. Plus, you have color there. I need to I start looking older and older the longer I let it grow.
Oh, yeah, there's believe me, I look like Santa.
I didn't come here to be attacked like this.
Somebody asked if you know, so I think it's fairly well known that a lot of the Annex team used to be very involved in Voron, and somebody asks sort of if you know why that's not the case anymore or how they split.
That was way before my time. I don't have any knowledge of that.
Okay. It's fair. And then somebody asked what your favorite hot end is.
Right now, I am really loving the Revo High Flow.
Oh, okay, cool.
I've been a fan of the Revo ecosystem since it came out. Other than the little bit of initial problems with those early heater cores failing with the thermistor wire, I got bit by that twice. But
yeah,
E3D made it right, and I haven't had any problems with it since. And they've just been working flawlessly. And then when the High Flow came out, I bought some of those, been printing with them pretty much continuously, and they've just been fantastic. Pretty much every other hot end I've had developed some problem at some point.
Yeah.
These are the only ones that have just been absolutely bulletproof for me.
Yeah.
So I've been kind of going more and more into that.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, we do still have some failures on the new, I guess, cores that they've been providing, but it's a lot less. And I just have a feeling, because we sell other hot ends that have ceramic cores too, and there's none that have been immune from problems. It may just be something that just happens with ceramic cores. I don't want to make a blanket statement, but it wasn't just E3D.
Yeah.
So
I've got a Rapido that was in my Trident and is now in pieces, as I'm trying to figure out where and how it clogged and get that working again.
Yeah,
I've got one of the unobtainium nozzles on that, so it's like I want to get that one back. Yeah, get that one back up and running.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I haven't tried the High Flow yet. It definitely seems like that would be a great hot end to recommend with that, because that was the only issue is you're throwing on a Voron and you're like, well, so
yeah,
there's a lot of people that want to push a lot of plastic, and that was sort of the shortcoming, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, but the integrated nozzle heat break design is just so nice. I've thrown away V6s because of leaks that you get in between if they're not seated very well together. It was more like I'm starting anew. It's so hard to get them all cleaned up and just back to new again. So it is great. I think as people have been calling and asking, that's been one of the recommendations. Now the LDO kits come with them, and so it's like, hey, just throw a high flow nozzle on there and you've got a great hot end there.
Yeah, yeah. And I know from, there's a lot of people that are going with some of the ultra high flow hot ends and just some of these gigantic things that, can melt a ton of plastic every second. But I don't go after super high speed. I want stuff that prints pretty fast and pretty good. And that's good enough for me. And for me, the Revo is just, it hits that sweet spot. It's idiot proof.
Yeah. Gosh, I wish I had it here. Zombie's on the stream. I sent him one. I got from Triangle Lab one of their new hot ends that, I kid you not, is like this long. It's like, I don't know. I Zombie, you're on there. I don't know if you know how long it is, but I would say it's probably 60 millimeters long, 80 millimeters long. I don't know. It's like just the melt zone, and then you still have like your your heat sink after that, but it's a monster. I'm sure it can push a lot of plastic, but it's something else. It's awesome though. And yeah, for Nathan, yes, it is. Yeah, I think it's the STD6. It's an awful acronym. But yeah, it's I mean, it's just a monster. I will bring it. I'm gonna give it away next stream maybe, because we're not doing anything with it. I got it almost as a joke, so someone can have fun with it.
They're claiming 100 millimeters cubic per second with this thing.
I don't doubt it. I don't even
That's
think there's any
insane.
engineering behind it. Like, you just make it, you make your melt zone long enough, It's got like an insulate. I mean, so the thing is, it's the insulation block that it's got is like it's square. I mean, it's a monster that just goes across the whole hot end. It's something else.
This is something.
It's fun.
So, do you have any ideas for other projects, mods, or anything that you can talk about?
Yeah. Ideas, yes. Whether or not any of this will actually ever work or come to fruition, one of the things that, and again, kind of going back to my whole, how do we make this simpler and easier? I love the stuff that Bamboo did with their auto calibration.
Yeah.
So, hey, can I hook a camera up to my tool head and write some code to do, some machine learning based stuff and see if we can't do some form of auto calibration, whether that's Z offset or flow rate or what have you. It's like, let's see what we can find. I would love to learn and more on the electronic side. Don't really have much electronics knowledge. So I thought doing some experiments with load cells might be a fun little project. Kind of simulate, kind of the direction the tap's taken. And I think, what do you call it? Prusa's doing that on theirs now as well.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, let's poke around with that. Maybe I can learn something about some electronics. And I'd been looking at my solid forks and thinking just about all that extra room that I've got in front. And if I offset the bed a little bit and flip the head around the other direction, maybe there's room for 2 tool heads in the back there and do a tool changer.
Sweet. Yeah, that'd be cool.
So those are all kind of like, yeah, when I'm done with all this, I'll find something cool to start banging on.
That's the problem, is finding all the time, right? I'm sure you can think of a whole bunch of cool things you'd like to do.
Yeah, exactly. And some of them are definitely outside of my comfort zone and they're stretch goals for sure, but that's how we learn and get better, right? Until I did the solid fork, I had never designed a printer before, and I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to do it until I got the first few parts down. It's like, yeah, I think I can do this, and learned a lot on the way and made some mistakes, but hey, in the end, we got it done.
Yeah, I mean that's the way you have to do it. I can tell you those are really cool stretch goals. Like I think any one of those would be amazing.
Yeah, hopefully at least one of them works.
Cool.
Well, you didn't make a commitment here, so no pressure.
Yeah, no commitments, no time frames, no guarantees this will ever actually see the light of day.
That's cool. Do you
Fully disclaimered.
Obviously when you have these kind of ideas, I mean, it's always, I'm sure it's really helpful to bounce your ideas off of other people. Do you have kind of a core group of people that you're able to just do some ideation with?
Yeah, I can definitely. I feel very comfortable posting my stupid ideas to the Voron crew, and the people in there who are a lot smarter than me are very kind and telling me exactly, why that's not a good idea, and very helpful on the things where it's like, hey, I just need this, and I need some help with this. And
Yeah.
there's somebody on the team that knows that, is really good at that. And they're, come right in and, willing to help you with it. So it's a super supportive group. And I think that's one of the strengths of and why community in the ecosystem is what it is.
Yeah. Is there a general, I'm wondering what some insider knowledge just on what it's like talking to the crew, like what kind of is it very much like experimental stuff, like go with try this thing out, or is it a lot of people saying, hey, this is not a good idea, or is it a good mix?
I would say it is. You tend to see a lot of it in the public channels as well.
Mm-hmm.
The people in the crew were, the same people, right? And it's very supportive. So it's a lot of everyone's got great ideas, and there's more ideas than anyone has time to do. So there's a lot of encouragement. You got something cool, go for it. It's just super supportive in that aspect.
Are you able to share a rough number of how many projects you're aware that are open? I mean, I know there's a lot of things that are probably in hiatus kind of things, but
yeah, that I don't think I'm allowed to
size?
share.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dang, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna every time I'm gonna see if I can
It was a good try, but
push a little farther. We've got a lot of people in chat asking for Voron when stuff all over the place. I don't think those are getting answers.
I was just looking at that.
I'm guessing you're not doing a
was
slicer though, so that would be one you can probably deny.
But I was at one point thinking about redoing the plater app,
Yeah.
the one that packs your plates for you, because
Yeah.
that seemed to have been abandoned. So before I did Solid Fork, I was thinking, oh, I might do a software project, and I was using that pretty heavily at the time, and it's like, oh, maybe that would be a fun one to redo. But yeah, that one never went anywhere. So that's as close as a slicer as I'll likely ever do.
Yeah. I mean, that plater app, I think works pretty well. I don't know if it's the same one that I'm thinking. Aaron, you use that, don't you?
Yes. So K-Mobs on the Voron Discord did an update to it called Plater Flow. So now you dump all your files into a directory, and it based off of a Voron standard like quantity formatting and accent formatting, it will automatically split them up, feed them into Super Slicer, and upload to your printer all in one go now, which is
wow, that's
really nice.
Amazing. That's super nice. So as long as you can follow that syntax on the files, and you could even do non-Voron parts, you just have to keep that similar syntax.
I
right?
use it all the time. It's
awesome.
Extremely helpful.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and Aaron, technically, the Voron toaster has been done.
Excuse me?
While not an official design, yeah, Dustin Speed
Oh my gosh.
has a toaster that runs Clipper that was serialed.
You have got to be kidding me.
I am not.
vtoast.000.
Wait, that's what that is? I thought that was just okay. I'm gonna
Nope,
have to look
that's
into this more. That is
it's
awesome.
a
That's
thing.
awesome.
Man, I love this
That's
community.
awesome. You should reach out. I'm sure he has a video or something he can show.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
I forget where the link is, but you can see his serial request video.
Okay, I'll look it up. I
my
haven't seen it.
gosh.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
What's the waffle maker from Murph? Was there a waffle maker that runs Clipper at Murph?
No, I think somebody had it was wasn't it a pancake maker that had a syringe that kind of drew the batter onto a griddle?
Oh, that's
Oh,
awesome.
that was at the Annex booth. I
Oh,
remember
so
seeing that.
Annex. Yeah.
It was the pancake bot, but they made it run Clipper, I think.
Oh, that's cool. Well, at IRF, we're not doing something special with a printer, but we are gonna make some. I do want to make some food. We late night at dinner, we wanted to. Aaron left with some tortillas, and so we made a decision to make some quesadillas on a V0 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it can totally be done. I don't know if it's something anyone wants to eat afterwards, but we'll be cooking up some quesadillas or breakfast burritos or something like that at IRF.
Breakfast at the West booth.
Yeah, free breakfast at the West 3D booth. You have to sign a waiver though, because
Oh yeah.
I don't know how good that is to eat. We'll put foil over it and stuff, but come on, for science, right? We'll see. We'll see you 30 years later.
I'll just
1500
put my
watts.
coffee cup on the bed and use it to heat it up.
That's actually, I mean, it seems
Okay.
very inefficient, but that's actually something you could do.
Yeah.
When I lived in the dorms, I was very desperate. One night, the microwave in the lounge had broken, so I did.
Uh-oh, what'd you
heat
do
up
at the printer?
I set my bed to 145 and put a metal bowl with some water in there. It worked. Do I recommend it? No.
Let's see that. So I think we can do one more trivia round. And again, I'm not sure if anyone has other questions, but let's do one more. Aaron, I still want that bed looks huge. So I'm actually curious. This might be a fun one. Are you willing to share sort of your height or something like that, just so we could see if people can figure out the scale? Here,
We already did that
because
question.
Huh?
We did the bed.
we did the
question.
bed, but we don't know the scale
Oh,
size
oh,
because
oh.
if that's a twin, then I mean, right now you look like you're like 3 feet tall.
So I am going to be completely honest. I forgot it's not a twin XL. That's what they have on the on-campus housing. This is a full XL.
Okay. See, well,
But-
whoever said twin still gets the prize.
Yeah, of course. But I'm 6'4", so
Oh, see, but
Just
no one
for-
got it wasn't the question. You got to do the now people are gonna know the answer.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if there's any more questions. Do you guys have any other questions? Because we've already occupied more than, gosh, it's amazing how long these things can go just asking questions, but more than 2 hours of Yeri's time.
This is a blast. I'm loving this. I'm
Oh, it's awesome.
glad to be here.
These are a lot of fun for us. I think all of us kind of look forward to whenever we get one of these scheduled, because it is really like we just chill and we ask questions that have every once in a while pop in our mind, and we just obviously don't have you in front of to ask.
So I do have a potential trivia question.
Okay.
So anybody, I mean, for probably the last year at this point, who has ordered from West 3D has received a caramel apple Tootsie Pop in their order that I can say that pretty confidently. For some very specific orders, there is another candy type that is included. What type of candy is that?
It's also my favorite candy. Caramel apple pops aren't my favorite.
Oh yeah?
I like them a lot. I think they're the best for like something that's durable and lasts forever. It makes me happy when I have one and I'm eating it.
Wow,
The
some
one
of
I
the people
like
in
is
chat have
not the
a
same.
better memory than me. I forgot that when we ran out of the pops at one time, we started including Jolly Ranchers.
We
But
still have
that
a bag of Jolly Ranchers. In fact, I was too lazy. So sorry, whoever I threw in a whole bunch of Jolly Ranchers for, if they really wanted an apple pop today. I was just too lazy and I grabbed a whole bunch. You got like 12.
So I will say it is not a Jolly Rancher.
Oh, see, so I thought we were talking about Jolly Ranchers. It's not CBD gummy bears, I hope.
No.
Either.
No, we
Okay,
keep those. We don't give those away.
John, you're very close. I'll give you that.
Where's John's? Oh, Jawbreaker. Oh, Gobstoppers?
No.
I shouldn't guess. What if I got it right?
Yeah.
Okay. I like Gobstoppers though.
I don't even think y'all know about these. Know about
Oh, then
these.
you give it to the closest.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it one more minute, but
Airheads are good too.
If no one else gets it, I think John is close.
So I really, really like candy, and I just really shouldn't have too much of it. So all of these, I just want to
Wow.
run to like 7-Eleven.
310 got it.
Oh, fireballs, atomic fireballs.
I got a I included
Those are good too.
atomic fireballs with
Those are
some
good.
orders.
I'm more partial to the lemon heads, but those are good too.
Okay.
Grub screws.
Okay, I've got one. Yeri might know the answer to this. I mean, it's been a while, and I will say, West 3D should have had a salad fork a year ago. But who kept? I'm gonna say bugging. I wrote bugging. I don't want to be mean, but who kept bugging me about releasing a salad fork? And I think I went back and forth. Yeri, we had discussed more than a year ago just different changes and bomb stuff, but you probably know the answer to this. But he's posted a couple times also on our channel asking when we're going to get the kit.
Very good suspicion who that might be.
We're got the delay, so people are still answering questions about candy.
Yeah.
By the way, John, send us an email just to make sure that you get. I'll give you the choice. Either we do a $20 gift card or a salad fork shirt. Okay, yeah. So Thunder Keys, you got it. And if you've been in our channel, I mean, he's said it a couple times. It's always Klee. Klee's got this tremendous ability to pressure people into doing things. So we're just a year late, but yeah.
Yes, Klee has definitely made a few items on the to-do list for me.
Oh,
He's
Klee's
very good at coming up
on
with
the
that
chat.
stuff.
Klee, I still have 400, I don't know, 800, something like that, Mizumi corner cubes in my garage. I don't know. I need to figure out something to do with those. But
I think a number of them made it to the office. I did find a box
sweet.
of them too. Heads up.
Yeah, it was one of those like great ideas, and it was late at night, and I had my wallet out apparently, and so we've got a whole bunch of cubes that we decided weren't the best choice. But yes. Anyway, Yeri, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really. Each one of these chats, you know, I thoroughly enjoy This one particularly, especially because Salad Fork has really been top of mind for us. Dude, it was super cool to meet you at Remurf. It's one of those things, you know, you talk to somebody and you can't quite pin what they're like in real life. And I was very, very happy with you. You're just a really nice guy. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah,
Appreciate
this is,
it.
like I said, this is a blast. This is definitely the highlight. This has been great. I really appreciate you guys having me on here.
So I do have our usual
Oh,
kind of
yes,
closing
which we forgot
question.
last time.
Who is someone that you would like to see do this live stream?
I think, well, I think the next obvious one, we're talking about Salad Fork, I think we've got to talk about the Micron next.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're working on that. And I feel like I actually have, oh, it's here. It needs some work. This is Hartk's Micron that you'll see on the if you look at like FunSour's website for the Micron kit, that's the kit. So we've got stuff to talk about. In fact, there's been some redesigns of some parts, but Alan and Civi witnessed an explosion of a printed part live with this kit. So it's fun. Clee did ask something about you getting to try the new hot sauce before you. I'm not sure. We actually we do have some new hot sauce. So I guess I can send you some before Clee gets it.
Oh, that'd be great.
Are you a hot sauce guy?
I am. I have bought a lot of Pepper King stuff. Yes.
Yes. Oh, dude, yeah, it's an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Well, again, Yeri, thank you. Team, I'll see you tomorrow. Everybody, on chat and on YouTube, thanks for joining. If there's anything that you guys would like to see changed or different, please let us know. Sorry, my dog, he's saying he wants to go outside. If you guys hear that in the background. Again, it was really awesome. Thank you. And thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks. Good night, everyone.
All right, good night.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.